Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Somebody say my name? I think so. Hello there. Welcome. May 11th. To you too. I don't know where to start. I really don't. I continue my desire to avoid the big topics because I feel like, I'm sure so many of you do, dispirited and helpless and stressed and anxious. And keep looking for things that I'd rather think about, you know, the way things seemingly used to be. I have to tell you about, I've talked about this before, but I just saw that actually the Post-Gazette editorial page, which I have been, speaking highly of since there's been a change in leadership there, also referred to it today. I don't have it in front of me, but it's about how Democrats are so self-destructive. And I am so worried. I mean, when you think of how we know that most Americans are not behind this current Republican Party, and yet we understand that the Republican Party is very well positioned to take back control of at least the House, perhaps the Senate, and even the presidency in 4 years or 6, whatever the hell. And it seems unbelievable, doesn't it? You look at a party that has renounced in many ways everything it traditionally stood for. This is the government of I don't have to go into it. Every time Republicans are in power, our debt and deficit skyrocket. This is a party now that seemingly is enamored, if not toadying to Putin and Russia. This is a party that has become openly white nationalist. I keep using the word fascistic because much of what is going on is fascistic. The fringe of their party is absolutely, unabashedly fascist. And they're not being censured or spoken ill of by party leadership generally. I don't, it's hard to believe that what's always been the case, the party in power loses big in the midterm election, that would still be the case when Republicans are who they are now. And every national election, by the numbers, not the Electoral College necessarily, but by the numbers, and even last time, most recently, by the Electoral College as well, the American people have said, we don't like these guys. And yet, they're poised to take power. They have already taken the Supreme Court, one of the three branches. And because that court is what it is, life tenured positions, that court will remain in Republican hands for who knows how long. And it has to do with how long a Democrat can stay in the White House and how long perhaps Democrats can maintain control of the Senate, and whether or not some of the Republicans on the court drop dead. But the piece in the PG was talking about something that I so agree with, and I have spoken of, and it seems like no big deal, but it is. And one of the things that is killing Democrats' chances, that is making people who would otherwise perhaps vote with us not, is this lunacy on our left, this hectoring about language. And it is so clear as you see how Republican office holders are so terrorized by saying something that might offend Donald Trump, that they do not speak necessarily what they really believe. I think the same thing is going on our side by people who now nervously, anxiously parse their words for fear that they will say the wrong thing, because it just doesn't take much anymore to set off the ones on our side who are, I think of them like, like the Taliban or the guys in Saudi Arabia who police the streets and making sure that a woman's covering is long enough. And, this constant sense that we are being watched, listened to, and face possible condemnation for saying the wrong word, even thinking the wrong thought and giving voice to it. I find it so unbearable, this kind of environment. And I don't care. I don't care why they say that this has to be done. I don't care anymore. Because that kind of repression, and then the self-censorship that goes on. I mean, and I know, because I've heard it, I've seen it, I've even felt it, this fear that you'll hear people even voice that they will say the wrong thing, or the relief they feel if you say something and then they will say, oh, I was going to say that, but I thought maybe, that you would be offended. This is, to me, unbearable. And I think it is one of the biggest things. It's seemingly small. It's one of the biggest things that has helped to bolster the Republican Party when it should be going down in flames. Speaking to a Republican the other day. I do that now. I do. I was speaking to a Republican the other day, and they were saying that they always considered themselves socially liberal, and that, in fact, they were, and that they found Alito's leaked opinion appalling, but they vote Republican. And when I talked to them about why, it was clear that it was exactly these kinds of seemingly pronouns. It was because of, like pronouns. Guys, we're going to lose our democracy because of pronouns? I know it seems insane. It all seems insane. But you have no idea how I do, because I feel what they feel. I'm not going to become a Republican because of it. But I just intrinsically dig in and push back when some, and I look at them as self-righteous, no different than like the Puritans, the burned witches, these people who know they're right and want to absolutely force onto everybody else their orthodoxy. We get it, we see it on the right with the religious right and this Supreme Court, and we have it on our side. And our side, though, is so, the way most people think, so off the wall. I was reading something a few weeks ago, and I found out that another word that I use is now unacceptable. And actually, I think the Post-Gazette referenced it too. Unacceptable. And I guess I better inform you, because God forbid, you should utter this word in front of the wrong person. One of the linguistic police. You know what the word is? Homeless. Homeless, yeah. It's gone the way of, well, you think of handicapped. Do you ever say that now? Do you? Shame. Handicap became what? Disabled. No? Or disabled became, I don't know, because disabled became verboten and became what? Differently abled? You want to know what homeless? Okay. Homeless, you can't say anymore. The correct term is unhoused. And I have to tell you, I can understand, I can even figure why they've decided homeless is wrong. But guys, this is insanity. The country is on the brink of dissolution. And if we don't have our priorities straight, and if we don't pull ourselves away from this nonsense, because that's what it is at this point, we don't have the luxury right now of spending our time championing pronouns. Unhoused over homeless, differently abled, the whole Megillah. We do not have such luxury. I'm speaking as someone whose eyes are wide open, who listens to people. We have turned off more people because we have become cowed by this fringe element. Young people, it is mostly young people doing it, and the intellectual elite, the university, the academy. That's where it's emanating from, the professorial class. And then we all become identified with them as that elitist, self-righteous, looking down their nose, word police. And an average human being, not even an average human, above average human beings, say, are you easy? This is the kind of thing that, yes, could be talked about, but that because it might not be our number one priority, but Republicans will make it look as if it is. That's why this is so injurious to what we hope for. All of this stuff is like wrapping up the most wondrous gift and presenting it Mitch McConnell, Donald Trump, and DeSantis, and Fox News. We keep doing this. And we're as fearful of pushing back against these folks on our side as the vast majority of Republicans are of pushing back against the nuts, the dangerous folks on their side. The Post-Gazette article pointed out something that I've spoken of too, that Latino voters, one would assume, would be a good fit for Democrats, given that just out-and-out racism so often evidenced by Donald Trump and those who serve him. Those brown people crossing our border, breeding pestilence and murdering us in our sleep. And yet Latinos are leaving our side and going the Republicans at an alarming rate. We're losing them. We're losing them. And it's because of this stuff. It's because our social liberalism has become, in some instances, social radicalism to many people. They just can't go that far, or they feel pushed. They feel everything that they think they knew about how the world worked and was organized is being attacked, and their reaction in a time that is already destabilized, and fearful and anxiety producing, it's too much. So the crazies on our side, insisting on Latinx, a term I will never employ myself. I didn't even know how to pronounce it for the longest time. I thought it was Latinx. That's the same reaction the most Latinx people have. They don't call themselves that. How dare these pointy-headed elitists in the universities decide what someone else should call themselves? That's the kind of off-putting crap that sends people into the arms of people who should be their enemies. I fear for us. There's just so much signifying expected of everybody now. From the yard signs to all of a sudden the Ukrainian flags and how quickly people immediately do what they're supposed to do. I'm signifying here. I changed my little thingy I took that picture down. Now I got a Ukrainian flag. I got the right yard signs up. I got the right bumper stickers on. My reaction to all of it is, it strikes me as just pathetic. Because I feel at heart, at base, I know I'm on the Ukrainian side, but at base, a lot of this stuff that we now do is trying to prove that we're on the. Here I am. I'm standing with I just want it known. We're wearing our colors. Showing we're in the right gang. God almighty. Pathetic. I'm sorry. There was a piece I read, God, it has to be a month or so ago, that has stuck in my head by a very moderate person. I'm becoming more moderate by the minute as I just sort of recoil from the extremes. The middle is the only way we're going to save ourselves. Move into the middle. Everybody on both sides of this craziness. Because that's where most people are. And I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry if this is not the politic thing to say. I'm really sorry. I'm saying what I think. That's all it is, what I think. Think I'm right? We're right. I might be sort of right and not completely right. I don't know, but I'll be damned if anyone is going to tell me what I can say and what the right way to think is. I've had it. I think it was David Brooks who wrote the piece. And I think he said some things that I know that I agree with as he looks at this world of ours. As he looks at, okay, just look at our Democratic Party. Our party is being riven in some ways by this stuff. Our nation is certainly being riven in some ways by this stuff. But increasingly what he pointed out, which blew me away, was that what we term, I guess, the culture wars. Let's just call it that for lack of because we sort of understand what that is. That he thinks that the culture wars are now global and that you look at other nations and see it play out. You look at geopolitics and see it play out. And part of this is because people are people. all over the world. I'm going to sound like Dr. Seuss now. A person, humans are humans. Same longings, same fears, same motivations. And he, in this piece, was talking about what motivates humans. And humans are first of all, humans desire to be noticed, to be treated with a level of respect. You look at human history, it looks like humans like to be part of something bigger, like to belong, even if sometimes that is to see themselves as part of a nation, a national identity, an ethnic identity, a religious identity, some kind of, or a moral tenet that grounds them. And in this country, our culture, which has spread across the world, everybody is taking our music, taking mostly Black music, Black American music, Hollywood culture, all that kind of stuff. But the world has not necessarily embraced the very American sense of individual freedom. That is not something that billions of human beings share with us. Our specific sense of individual freedom. And a lot of cultures and a lot of countries historically, the community, the larger entity, trumps individual liberty. And in Brooks' piece, he talked about how, Western values, our values are not global values. In fact, much of the world looks at us as really pretty disgusting, self-obsessed, mostly just self-obsessed. The stuff, that American freedom, that me, 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 me. And I don't know if I'm making any sense. I wish I had that thing in front of me, and I don't. But what people in this destabilized world really are clearly wanting, just look at the vote in the Philippines the other day. Marcos, they elected Marcos. I believe the Philippines is like the oldest democracy in Asia. They don't want it. They yearn for the autocracy of Marcos regime. And this is after they had the wonderfulness of the autocratic and murderous Duterte, right? So that's one of those countries that has gone the other way through this Western value. When the world seems chaotic, a lot of humans, this country, we call them Republicans, desire order. And if it comes top down, that is just fine and dandy. And I will argue that the loonies on our left also are people with the same need. They're authoritarian by nature, and they seek control. of what others say, do, or think. So now you see the world playing out in Ukraine. What we see playing out is the autocrats, Russia and China, against the Democrats, against the liberal democracies. And I think what Brooks was saying is this is really not all political anymore. It is also cultural, or at least the cultural is a wonderful weapon for our enemies. And you see, like, the Chinese leader, and you see Putin talk about American values in this, with this sense of, just how repulsive we are and how self-righteous we are. I don't know. Biggest thing that the democracies have going for them, it is true, are the Ukrainian people right now. I don't know. I'm obviously doing a insane rant here, leading nowhere. I'm sorry. And it all started out when I saw homeless is unacceptable. Oh, God. My God-given sense of American freedom takes great offense at anybody telling me what I can say and what I can't say. I will self-regulate when an argument is made that makes sense to me. I do not use what I think offensive language is. If you tell me, if people in a group tell me, as Black people have, this is what we want to be called, this is something we really is hurtful to us, I listen. I am quite willing to change. I will not be dictated to. And in that respect, I am like most human beings. Well, thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan says, I so agree with everything you're saying. I think most people do. They're just too afraid to say it now. It's not politically correct. Jonathan writes, I've heard Van Jones say Democrats are going to woke themselves right out of an election. Yeah. Yep. We are. We sure as hell are. Jonathan goes on to say this holier than thou crap, making people feel less than for things like not knowing the alphabet soup of LGBT, LMNOP, makes them feel unwelcome. Like we're not the party for you because you're not good enough for us. Or I so absolutely, it's insanity. And I do blame the universities. They never pushed back against it. The faculties folded. The administrations folded because a lot of overly pampered kids brought up by, these helicopter parents, kids who were never allowed to have anything harm them, hurt them, offend them, took over. And I'm sick of it. It doesn't make me a homophobe. It doesn't make me transphobe. It doesn't make me any of those things they will then say it makes me. It does not. And it's a lot of people now voting for Republicans will say that something they said does not make them a racist in the same way I'm saying this doesn't make me a transphobe. God, I can't stand these people. I'll give the young ones a pass because when you're young, you're sure. You're too unformed to not know what you don't know. You haven't lived long enough to see and embrace all the chaos of the world. You haven't come to terms yet with the fact that you cannot have things like you necessarily want them. But the adults in the universities that allowed this to happen, allowed the lunatics to take over the asylum, rather than teaching them. You talk to professors now, well, you know this. I'm not saying anything you don't know. They have redone everything. They have all the lectures they ever gave for 40 years. All of a sudden, they've gone through them. They pulled whole parts of them out. They've changed words left, right, and center. They do the trigger warnings before. They are scared shitless. And they're still reported. You don't know which students sitting in that class are part of the self-appointed police brigade. God. I fear this crap almost as much as I fear the fascism on the right. Because it all feels the same to me. And if those of us who see that don't pull back into the middle and make ourselves a big, 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 big group and find the things that we agree on, and there's plenty of it, we're doomed. And neither party, as it exists, is helping us. And our media is sure as hell not helping us in this effort. They all see power as pulling us farther apart. They're succeeding. All these people in the middle that need to grow a spine, need to start saying things they're afraid of saying, need to stop self-censoring. We are doomed. Hey, I got something. Okay, I'll stop. Because I saw two stories today, and I thought, geez. One was a story where I thought, God, why doesn't that ever happen to me? You know, something you would love to happen to you. And then the other story was, oh my God, what if that ever happened to me? Oh my God. So it was these two stories. Something happened to two different people in America. One a woman, one a guy. I believe it was a guy. It's unclear. That person's not been identified. And both are these just, to me, again, stories where you'd wish for the one and not the other. Can I share those with you? Because, you know, the one has to do with a woman who was nosing around in a Goodwill store. Did you see this? This is a few years ago now. Her name's Laura Young. She's, where is this? In Texas somewhere. she's nosing around, and she's looking at like the nicky things, and there's this big like sculpture of a man's head sitting there amongst the trinkets and flamingos and whatever, all this kind of stuff. And she says, "Wow, look at that thing." And she looks at it, and she tries to pick it up, and it's heavy as hell. It was marble. She thought, "My God, this is marble." And it had a few chips in it here and there, and it had a price tag on it stuck on this. It was a head stuck on this guy's cheek that said, what, $34.99. Well, she went to the counter and said, "There's something over there I really want, but I don't think I can lift it up. Could someone put it in my car?" And so someone did. And she actually buckled it in. It put him in the passenger seat, and she buckled it in. And when she got home and started Googling around, she realized that she had something there that was not only, it was worth so much money that it was what it had risen to the pricelessness category. It was priceless. It was easily 2,000 years old. It was, still unsure. But where they finally traced she couldn't have it. Finally, it turns out it probably made its way to the United States after World War II, and probably some GI, although how are you going to weigh like 50-some pounds, looted it or something from someplace in Germany, Bavaria. Anyway, it eventually is having to go back there, but I don't know. She did make a bunch of money because when something like that happens, you can negotiate a finder's fee from the Bavarian government, which she did, which is not mentioned here. But this is an ancient Roman sculpture, and they figure it initially belonged to, they aren't sure. They knew it belonged to King Ludwig of Bavaria, that he had bought it at one point or looted it himself. And then the Nazis looted it, and then the Americans looted it, and somehow it ends up in a Goodwill, $39.99 and $34.99. Excuse me, don't want to. Got to save that $5. And she picked it up. She had it for a year. She named it Dennis, after this jerk character in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because the guy looks like a jerk to her. But whatever. Anyway, there you have it. They figure the son of Pompey the Great might have owned it. How they figured that out, I have not a clue. So there's that. Like, why hasn't that ever happened to me? Why can't I ever find some incredible treasure? And here's what always happens to me too: my goddamn computer freezes. Okay, and so the other story of, oh God, thank God that didn't happen to me, is, oh, I'm sorry, I got callers. I just saw this. I'm sorry. No, they all hung up. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, damn. See, what happens is I put my computer onto, what the story that I'm using to help tell the story I'm telling. I'm the clipping, and then I'm not seeing my damn. Anyway, but the other story, real quickly, is a fear that you're some guy gets on an airplane, a little single engine plane, flying from, I think it was the Bahamas to Florida, and all of a sudden he's sitting there in the passenger seat of the plane, and the pilot goes down. The pilot is not piloting. He's down. And geez, what do you do? So the guy manages to the passenger manages to pick up the what do you call that, the microphone, the whatever you call that, I can't think, and he said this: "I've got a serious situation here. My pilot's gotten incoherent. I have no idea how to fly an airplane. I have no idea." And my God, this is one of those stories you do hear of it every once in a while. It's there's a number of movies where I've seen this play out, and some air traffic controller or pilot on the in the tower walks the guy down, and he did. He landed the plane in where? I think somewhere in Palm Beach. He was so clear that he didn't. He said, "I can't even get the screen to turn on. The one with all the information on it. You guys have any ideas?" He didn't know anything. So they're not, the FAA is now involved. The pilot, who knows, I guess is alive, but obviously some medical issue, who knows. And this guy has whatever. Anyway, a JetBlue pilot that was told to he couldn't land at the airport, Palm Beach International, because his plane was coming in. Was circling, and he watched the guy bring it in. And the JetBlue pilot said this: the level of difficulty that this person had to deal with in terms of having zero flight time and to land that single-engine turbine aircraft, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, when I first started flight training, I was white-knuckled and sweating. He did an incredible job. And they said that his voice remained calm. I mean, if I were saying things like, "I have no idea how to," I mean, I would be like, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. I like to think I'd be cool cucumber, but I guess not. Okay. I'm trying to get emails in here. Oh, I don't have time. I'm sorry. Oh, Roger, you're back? Okay, I see you left me an email.
Hey there.
Hi.
Hey, we're talking about, pushing people away. Have you talked to your son about that?
Yeah, we have very hot conversations because he's one of these young people. And I try so hard to agree with his basic, often I absolutely agree with what he's saying. But he's so angry and so, I can't, he can't stand Biden. He can't stand the Democrats. He can't stand, but there's no, and he'll vote and this and that. But there, I must say, I have trouble talking with him, even though we mostly are in agreement. Okay?
I try to remember if I was that passionate when I was that age. Like, I'm right, everybody else is wrong. If you're not,
I was.
Yeah, and because I have my daughter's very even keeled. She's 35, so she's probably just a little bit older than your son. But
she's older.
Yeah, but her wife she's a few years older than my wife, or my daughter, and she is passionate like the crazies we talk about. But I went to a borough council meeting last night, and we have a new council member who, by far, there's like 8 or 9 of them up there, by far the brightest. She's got energy. She's smart. I agree with her politics. She drives everybody crazy. She doesn't listen to other people. She has no idea that she's pushing people away. She's not. She could get so much more accomplished if she could just, I don't know, just settle down a little bit.
Yeah, it's maddening. It's maddening that people with that level of, is she young?
She's 27.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's the problem. And so she could, if she was willing to work within this system, which they deplore. That's the problem. They see all the negatives that you see and I see, and they find it deplorable. And they have this sort of take no prisoners. I am, and the self-righteousness is what. They say things in absolutes. They don't do nuance well or gray areas, and it drives people away. Exactly what I was saying, and where they could have this extraordinary impact by understanding that you can't have it all at once, that you have to pull people gradually. You've got to, good God, I don't know. Hey, you know what? I'm going to have to let you go because I have another caller, and I want to. Okay. That's a great point. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Bye-bye. Huh? Bye. Okay. I have another caller. Hello? Hello?
Hey, Lynn. It's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Yet another old person complaining about Gen Zers. So I may come to their defense in a little bit, in a little way, okay. In that they go to college and they're treated like little consumers. And a friend of mine that works at Temple says, "Oh, they're not students now; they're consumers." And my boss makes me treat them like consumers because universities are a business. Their main objective is not to teach your kid; it's to make money.
No.
And how you make money?
I can see that. Yeah, that's right. I have a friend who works in academia. I was with her last night, and I was telling her, I said, the universities to me are corrupted, absolutely corrupted. It's like UPMC, losing track of the mission. But that doesn't let the students off the hook.
Yeah, I mean, they should not be allowed to be treated like consumers. They should say, "You failed, sorry," or "No, we're not going to create a accredited course for, crochet," and "No, you can't study abroad unless you meet these criteria," whatever. But they don't say no to them because they think that it's Starbucks and I want my whatever. Why can't I get my whatever? So we're enabling them, or the university is enabling them, and the parents are enabling them.
They're afraid of them. We've raised the parents totally kowtow, to their children. Don't let them, they intercede for them. They don't want them to ever talk to professors. There are kids who just demand that a grade be changed. I mean, demand is, I can't even imagine ever even asking for a better grade than I got. They don't ask. Right. They friggin' demand it.
And my sister-in-law once, my nephew was probably 8, said, "I hate you, Mommy." Like, he's 8. And my sister-in-law freaked out and said, "Don't ever say that to me. Don't ever say that to your mother." And I was like, "Well, he's got you wrapped around his little finger." And I said, "My mother never would have said that." And she said, "What would Babe have said?" And I said, "I don't like you right now either." So it's that whole "my child is my life" thing that drives me crazy. Get a life, people.
No, I know this negotiating with kids. I remember once, and this is a long time ago, visiting friends in Boston, and we were leaving to go to dinner, and their kid, who was not coming, was preventing us from leaving. Literally stood in front of the door. No, I know my hero. It was like about a 7 or 8 year old kid, and I was flat out flabbergasted. It was the first time. This is before I was a mother. I was flabbergasted to see that we actually had to stand there for I cannot tell you how long, while the mother and father sort of negotiated with the kid. I couldn't even. I still to this day can't believe it. I mean, geez, whatever. And that
so
is right.
Of course, they're going to go to college and say, "Why can't I have my class on macrame?" and think that they can negotiate their way, and successfully do, because deans are afraid of them. Rate My Professor.
Oh yeah, they're afraid.
Have you heard of Rate My Professor?
Oh sure.
So
I said Rate My Professor.
Rate.
Yeah, right.
And I went into my friend who works at that university, and I went in and said, "Best instructor ever." And, I went on and because you don't even need to be a student in the class. So, it's the Yelp age where I have to be heard at all costs or I don't count. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
So more old people complaining about young people, but that's how I see it.
Well, I feel for the young people in that they are living in this insane age, and they are living with an environment that none of us know what to do with. And I'm talking about social media and the way things have changed, the way we interact. The old people don't have a clue really what to do, but they're understandably fearful. And the young people are being just carried along. I mean, I was going to speak today and didn't about this huge, what the U.S. Surgeon General is calling, a devastating mental health crisis among young people in this country. And it's not just the pandemic, it's social media. They are under such stress. And a lot of it too is I don't know, you're stressed, I'm stressed, the kids are really stressed. And I think a lot of the parenting practices only add to it. People need to back away and let children be. Not scheduled, let them be. They're like building resumes from the time they're 1 second out of utero. It's just, and it is, again, it's our side. It's the liberal, lefty, rich liberal types that are furthering the wealth gap, making sure that their kids who are already born on third base are halfway to home plate before, they put a yard sign up that says all lives matter. I really cannot stomach a lot of the people on my side. I want to tell you that right now. And the people on the Trump side that look at us and hate us, I completely understand. I do. Am I going too far now?
No, I think it's reasonable. Yeah. Because it is insane. It is literally insane.
Yeah. That the people that are already so far ahead are just tripping all over themselves to make sure their kids are even farther ahead. And they give lip service to, we have to help the poor, as they destroy the public education system by pulling their kids out of it and going into the private schools and heading off to suburbia and all this kind of shit. I'm sorry. I find people. I'm in a state. And guess what? It's what? Go ahead.
A friend of mine who lives in Sewickley, I helped her find how much taxes she pays on her house a year. And she said, "Is that all? That can't be right." And I said, "No, that's right." And she said, "Why does everybody complain so much?" And I said, "Because rich people want more and more and more."
There's never enough.
Never.
Enough. And a lot of them, I'm telling you, are liberals. They see themselves as incredible. Oh, I know. They see themselves as incredibly progressive. Oh, yeah.
Denial is an amazing thing.
Self-awareness is missing in action.
Well, have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. It is another beautiful day. I had no intention, guys, of going off on that. I just happened to see that PG editorial, and it reminded me of the homeless thing I'd seen, and I just went berserk. So there you go. Hey, listen, I'll be back tomorrow. I cannot do the show next week. I've got like this medical issue playing out. I've got a ton of tests and things and schedules and blah, 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 that I have to deal with. And I just can't. And I'm hoping that, I don't know. I do have a health issue that has to be dealt with. And I'm sure doing a rant like this didn't help it any. So I'm sorry. That's just a heads up. I'll be here tomorrow. Thank you all. Enjoy this beautiful weather. Bye-bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.